Good everyone, welcome to this video. Today it's the spade impressions on the Mosquito MK18. And straight off the bat, I'm going to say this is not a very good plane. And I'm probably going to get some flack for that. Now, the Mosquito in real life was one of the best British planes developed. It was fast, maneuverable. The bomber variants could carry up to 4,000 pounds of bombs. Even a cookie. One of these could carry a cookie in real life. Obviously, we don't have the bomber variants in game. But this version of the plane was a bit different. It removed the four 20mm cannons from the Mark VI and instead put a Molins Class M cannon, 57mm to be precise, in the fuselage. Now, why did they do this? Well, the Mosquito was really used, well, this version of the Mosquito was really used for U-boat hunting. So what they would do is if they found a U-boat, they would fire the gun, and obviously the machine guns as well, and it would penetrate obviously the weak hull of the U-boat, and since the U-boat couldn't service due to damage, go underwater because of the damage, they would then, well, the Mosquito would then radio back to base, and a Sunderland or anything with bombs or depth charges would then be dispatched to finish it off. The Mosquito was not intended, or this version was not intended to do anything more than that. That's pretty much all it was built for. However, in War Thunder, obviously we do not have submarines, and the biggest ship you're going to sink is a fireboat. And well, large caliber cannons like this on aircraft do limit it to some maps. Norway, don't even bother spawning in, people. All I'm going to say. Honestly, that map is terrible. But otherwise, you should be pretty okay with most maps. Now, the 57 is a little bit inaccurate because it's actually, I believe, mounted a bit off center. Yes, it is. Slightly off center. So your shot may go a bit to the right of where you would expect it, so make sure to compensate for that. But it is in this battle where I get help unexpectedly. I chose to take off from the airfield for this battle, and I just thought it was a bit. I thought it was a bit appropriate for me to use it for this replay because I had a good run in the Mosquito. Don't get any air kills because the only air kills I got were on ground attackers and head-ons with Hitler bolts dying to the machine gun's tracer fire. But once I got the hang of this thing, it wasn't too bad. However, I did notice a critical flaw with the plane. You start out with 1 hour worth of fuel, which you do not need. But I bet you're wondering, which fuel tank is it mounted in? It's actually mounted in the central fuel tank. So the plane's fuselage is a heck of a lot heavier than what you would expect. Now, how did I figure this out? Well, I actually jumped into cockpit view, looked around at the new Nigel, even though he claims to be Nigel, he really isn't. Ow. I just punched my desk, that's not very helpful. And I looked at the fuel tank dials, so to speak, and I was like, that looks a bit weird. Wing tanks, empty. All these outer fuel tanks, empty. Central fuel tank, full. Okay, you're just making it really hard to fly this plane now, Gaijin. I swear, could you just give us more access to customizing our fuel loads? I mean, you're probably going to get that one knobhead who's just going to put 2 minutes of fuel in his plane, but I don't care. Let the retards die off is all I say. But even so, this central fuel tank really weighs down the plane, and it is horrible to fly this plane now. I highly disadvise using this thing. The 57, yeah, it will punch through pretty much anything you see. The machine guns are pretty handy to have as backup. But I'm sorry, this plane is not very good. The Mark VI is actually decent because of its firepower, and it can carry rockets. This thing cannot carry any form of ordnance other than its own cannon and machine guns. Anyway, let's jump into the replay, and now I have to find it. That's not it. And here we go. Now, the guy who you're going to want to look out for, he's actually on my friends list, is Geography Name. It was a bit strange. I don't even get wheels up and this guy gives me a hand. Okay, there we go. So I was just answering in Discord there. And we're going to crack on with this battle. It was actually quite a quick battle. But obviously I chose the airfield spawn because I thought that would be more appropriate due to it being a dusk map. It's a lot easier to spot a plane on this kind of battle. So we're going to jump to my view. Obviously I'm starting to roll. Now the Mosquito doesn't take all that long to get it off the runway. However, when you stock, it is not the fastest thing at getting wheels up. There you can see fake Nigel. I'm going to call him fake Nigel from now on. I'm going to turn it over to the chat window. Now, Geography Name has rockets on board, and, well, he doesn't make the best usage of them. But he does give me a hand. He says to me, well, obviously he says my name. And I look behind me and I see a Typhoon, and I'm like, okay. I quickly drop in and cheers. It's not very often I get fighter escort. I mark my position where I'm going. I'm actually heading up to where the B part is. If only this thing could mount rockets. I mean, I'd gladly rip those those external fuel tanks off and put some rockets on this thing, but I don't think that was historically accurate, which is fair enough. Now, the acceleration of the Mosquito isn't too bad. And there's fake Nigel again. And well, it's just... this plane in real life was an absolute god. It could do basically anything you wanted it to be. And I start staring down Nigel at this point. I make a joke here in chat, as I usually do. But you can see the plane isn't the world's greatest on the deck. I mean, it's gaining speed. It's approaching 300 miles per hour. But it certainly won't be outrunning much. I mean, in my final battle to spade this thing, I outran an MC202 EC. But even then, I barely did that. And the plane got home shot to shit, but... this plane cannot take too much punishment. It's obviously a wooden airframe, that's why it was nicknamed the Wooden Wonder by the Allies. It could basically do whatever you wanted it to do. And it was a very, very good plane. Mosquito was a very, very good plane, of course. In Gaijin land, that is not the case. Now, Geography spots a couple of planes. I start looking around and I spot that dot there. And we decide to get to treetop level to avoid being spotted as easier. Now, you may notice a decal that's actually not on my current Mosquito. It's been replaced by Hotbox. Obviously, you didn't see the Hotbox because you would have seen it, sorry. But that arrow there on the right hand side of the fuselage, which you saw for a brief moment, I believe that was a bomber's. That would have been a bomber's squadron. I'm not really sure. I'll have to have a look at some point. Now, the machine guns carry 2,000 rounds of ammunition. However, they're Brownings, so they do fire ridiculously fast. Obviously, 30 caliber machine guns really don't do all that much. I've killed planes with these things, don't get me wrong, but I didn't get many air kills in this thing. I think I got about 10 or 11. And the machine guns did that for me. Not a single kill with the 57, I'm afraid to say. Now, the AA on this map is already pretty annoying, and Geography Name is going to find that out the hard way, unfortunately. Now, the cannon is a bit inaccurate, but it takes 2 shots to kill a pillbox in most situations. You might get lucky and only need 1 hit. That's only if the AI ground forces weaken it first. Now, for some strange reason, the replay is not showing the tracer fire from my 57. So, if you think I'm some sort of Darth Vader where I'm just making the pillbox explode by using the Force, I am not. I can assure you that. Now I start looking around and noticing enemy fighters. I'm getting obviously increasingly concerned. But this plane can do well when it's left alone. It's got 25 rounds of cannon, so you can easily nail 12 pillboxes. Maybe even 30 if your last shot does something and kills the pillbox in a single go. You might even get more if that happens, but I found myself knocking out quite a few pillboxes per run and then using the machine guns to clear out the light targets. Unfortunately, with the Tempest Mark V Vickers P, that was not the case. And that was only a single shot, by the way. And well, the Vickers P is, well, I would regard it as the better variant, like the better plane out of these two. However, the Mosquito gets the award for cleaning up more targets. The reason for that is because the Mosquito has machine guns as access. The Tempest 5 Vickers P had its 4 20mm cannons removed in order to make way for the 72 rounds of 47mm ammunition. Now my team is actually cleaning up surprisingly well, which I was well happy with. However, in a few moments you are going to see Geography Name get shot down by the AAA over at the airfield, which is the C point. Not certain if you can land on that. Never had the battle last long enough to check. Guessing you can once it's capped. And I have had a situation where people land on that runway, and I have had to strafe them. And I mean allied players before it's even capped. But hey, allied players, they ain't the smartest. It was an A26 that did it. I was in my BF-109 G2 Trop during the summer event, and he decided to land. Now, for some strange reason, Geography Name decides to fire RP3 rockets at an AA piece. I mean, I hate AA as well, but that's a bit overkill in my opinion. That's just me. But you can see this plane is very heavy on the controls. It's not the nicest thing to fly. Now there's only a Do 217 left. There's an AI IL-2 flying alongside me. I thought that was pretty cool. The pillbox in front of me gets nailed by one of the IL-2 bots. Now at this point, Geography Name is actually out of rockets, and he is down to guns only, and obviously with a Typhoon you've got 4 20mm cannons. But this thing can clean up very effectively. The machine guns at this point are around about close to being empty, because obviously I've used them quite a bit to clean up most of the artillery and AAA, just like you saw there. The cannon I think had about 9 or so rounds left. And here comes the old AA, being fun as usual. And if you didn't catch what I was trying to imply there, that was sarcasm, people. And the MGs are out, according to my chat there, and I'm down to 7 cannon. Now obviously, there's the first hit from the AAA. In its typical fashion. I mean, I know it's 20mm AA fire, but even so, it should not be that accurate, surely. It's very strange how the replay is not actually showing the aircraft in its full potential, but we're now down to around 3 rounds of 57mm. I need someone to start taking out that AAA because my plane is getting shot to shit, as you can tell. And I'm moving in to clean up this pillbox, and there's a Beaufighter strafing it for some reason. I don't know why you would, mate. I mean, it's a Beaufighter Mark 10. It's a somewhat decent plane to fight with. I mean, but hey, it's your choice. I mean, I did mostly use the Beaufighter Mark 10 and the Mark 21. And there goes Geography Name, has just been shot down by the AAA, unfortunately. Sad to hear, but even so, it was very polite of you, mate, to do that and escort me. It's not very often I get players like that, so hats off to you, buddy. I'm now out of ammunition. I missed a shot on that pillbox, and the one shot that I did have left didn't kill it, unfortunately. But that is pretty much going to be the end of the match. I will skip ahead to the landing. But Geography Name notes that the Mosquito was a great plane. Yes, it was in real life, pal, but not in this game for some reason. Gaijin in their infinite wisdom decides that Yaks, which were known for having engine problems and things like that, are suddenly better than half the British aircraft, which, if the British aircraft were put in a dogfight against the Russians, would absolutely hand them their arse. If the Russians' engines didn't fail, that is. It's like the Yak-19 the Yak-9K, the vibrations of the 45 and 37mm respectively were so powerful it would actually rip the engine apart. But Gaijin being Gaijin, they're much better than Spitfires apparently. Now landing this plane can be a bit temperamental because the landing gear takes a while to come down. My recommended landing speed for this plane is around about 150 to 160 miles an hour, or around about 200 or so kilometers an hour. Not really certain what that is in kilometers an hour. I'd guess around 250 to 260, somewhere in that region. And I do bounce on the runway due to the landing gear being... Well, the landing gear is actually quite tough on this thing, but even so. And that'll be the end of it. So, what do I think of the plane then? Well, it certainly isn't the best ground attacker. I mean, you don't have to use it as a ground attacker. You can more than well use it as a fire, but I really do not advise that due to the central fuel tank carrying so much fuel, which it doesn't need. And overall, it was a fun plane. It's just, you really do have to be careful with this plane. Like, most of my deaths weren't even from fires, or from fucking trees. But yeah, like I say, I would say get this plane. It's just, you really do have to be careful with it. Spading it did take a while because Allied teams, and it does not have the best performance for a 3.7 plane. And dogfight wise, you'll be lucky to outturn anything twin engined. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that, and we're going to jump back to the hangar so I can do the modules and recommendations. So, oh, that's the test drive on the BM824. I was thinking of doing that, but no thanks. I've seen how bad that thing is. So, my recommendation of an upgrade path for this aircraft, I believe you need 2 modules to get into rank 2. I may be wrong. If not, then just go with the radiator. Speed is life, altitude is life insurance, as Max TV once is quoted. However, in my case, I went with offensive 7 mils, radiator, compressor, engine, engine ejection, new 57. Then the rest is just clean up. Wings repair is a very vital one to get for this aircraft because you can get extra lift and things like that, and that way you're not as susceptible to stalling. Your turn time's a bit increased, your top speed's a bit increased, etc. So that's my recommendation for the plane. And well, get it if you want it, but I certainly wouldn't say it's the best. Next British aircraft review will be on the Tempest Mark V Vickers P, which I'm actually having a lot of fun in. Then after that, it'll be the Spitfire Mark V-C, which I really haven't had much luck in because of these bloody cannons. I hate British 20mm already because they spark like hell, and the stock Mark II cannons jam like a motherfucker. So that's it for these Spade impressions on the Mosquito Mark 18. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will catch you all on the next one.